from what
Yeah, I
I
think they're waiting to see how
Yeah.
it ends and to see how people respond to it because that you could definitely do a second season from
yeah,
that ending.
there's a lot of gap in between because there's gonna be a civil war on the other back end side that's gonna be going on just because of what Ishido did. Um, that's crazy, bro. That was amazing. I mean, if they
Is this
don't
a
do a
Dune
second season,
scenario?
it's fine. But huh?
Is this like Dune Part 1?
Yeah, it's what it seems like.
Yeah.
It seems like they could really do it that way. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this review in and finish this out. Vanessa, you good to take over? You got it. You got
Yes.
okay. All right. I believe in you. You got
Okay. It sounds like a definitive no on season 2. Just FYI. Anyway, because they said that they basically filmed all the way up to the end of the novel and don't see a point in doing a second one. So that's what, according to the article that was released on Hollywood Reporter 5 hours ago. So
Kind of okay with that.
5 hours ago, damn.
yeah, I just looked it up because I was like Shogun season 2, and it says Hollywood Reporter. Yeah, it doesn't sound like there's not that's the plan right now, but we'll see what happens in like April when the whole show releases. Anyway, are we starting?
Yeah. Soon as I get this starting in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, it's the final. It's everything. It's over. We've finished Shogun episode 10. I'm still kind of traumatized. I have been through a lot with the show with these dudes. I'm gonna introduce all my guys. I have 45 people here. Everyone, let's we got Bizzy. We got Braun. Bizzy is Braun.
Bizzy
Ronin.
Braun.
She didn't call me Ronin that time, so there's that.
LeBron James.
They've introduced you twice. We got Amp, LT. What's up? What's up, everybody? How do we feel about this episode? How do we feel about the entire series?
What an
talking.
experience. What an experience.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm still 100% to talk about it. I'll do my best.
Dude needs a hug.
But it is a hell of an experience. And I think right now, I don't regret it at all. I think you need something like this once in a while. And yeah, kudos to the cast and crew for what they delivered. Yeah, I'm at all. I'm at all. I'm shocked. I'm traumatized. And it was a heck of a ride to go through. That's what I got to say.
Oof. So, I have a question for Ronin. By the 3rd episode, Ronin said this might be the show of the year for him, and I want to hear what he has to say. Because now that we have gone through the torment, everything, I want to know if you stand on that premise.
Do a callback.
As of now, yes, I think it is still show of the year. But there's a couple shows coming down the road that may or may not give that
Run for its money.
Yeah, that statement a run for its money. But this should be talked about till December 31st.
Hell
my
yeah.
opinion.
Dude. So with the way episode 9 played out, the pure depression that we all felt, because the anxiety, everything that was kind of given to us throughout that period of 50 minutes, whatever you want to call it, was extremely intense. So going into this episode, I understood there was probably going to be a lot of like similar moments, and they did a really good job with certain scenes, like the way that some things were color graded. Just, I don't know, you could really feel the mourning, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And but even then they still managed to give us some beautiful moments of grief, of the way some of these people were mourning. That scene between Fuji and John, I think, was extremely beautiful. There's still points where Fuji has no idea what the hell he's saying, but at the end of the day, like they knew what was going on in that situation. And I don't know, I just feel like the way they handled certain things here was it was extremely well done. And oh man, it was great. It was great. I think this was a really good way to finish a probably a series if we're not getting a season 2. I think that they did a really good job showing us what the possibilities of the future were. At the same time, just making things easy to accept. I don't know. I'm accepting that this is it, and they did a really good job with making me feel comfortable with this being the conclusion of a great show. Yeah.
And wow. Yeah, I'd like to say a lot of arcs were tied off pretty nicely in this last episode. The whole thing that I've seen so far was just absolutely amazing. There were definitely themes of loneliness, and like you said, the color kind of was slightly muted to like you just felt, especially when he got back to his house, that there was a he felt kind of like by himself a little bit more. Um, Especially a moment looking over to where Mariko would have normally been. And having that extra hurdle of language, even though he's gotten better in speaking Japanese in his time there. But just absolutely there's some great cinematic shots. There's some great storytelling in just the framing of the shot. So it's like I would definitely entreat that while people are watching this, like pay close attention to how they're framing, um, how they're viewing things and how they're framing things. I think there was a point where they were talking about a bonfire, and you see right over Shogun's with shoulder of fire going. That was all intentional. So yeah, I think it was excellently done as far as that goes.
And Ty, I know you're kind of coming into the fray a little late. You got to go back and watch a few other episodes, but kind of what was your take on the last episode,
man? Well, from what I saw, because I was actually watching for actually a good long while. I think my take is I'm actually okay if they don't do another season. There just comes I don't even want to call it content, but there's just period pieces that show up that have such really good originality, and you really can tell they put their heart and soul into it. Everything down to the emotion, the development of the characters, everything down to even this character who developed, even through his development of learning Japanese, he also developed kind of a kindred spirit with those around him, and he became, I think, a better person for it. But this is one of those pieces where it's like you just wish, you kind of hope, or at least for me, I hope that they don't do another season. It caps off really well. It, even with the color grading to show, the kind of grit in those, that final 35-40 minutes, it's like, and the way it just ends, it's like, this is a story. This is just, let's tell this one piece, this one story. Let's give it all we can into it and make it an unforgettable production. And it was. It's definitely, we could say that it's Game of Thrones. We could say we could say it's Game of Thrones in Japan, or Dune in Japan, and even in some pieces it feels like Lawrence of Arabia in Japan. But I think it's actually a good culmination of all those, but yet it's still separate from those. It's its own original piece, and I definitely enjoyed it. I think there's only maybe 1 or 2 episodes I gotta watch to get the full thing, but from what I've seen so far, I think it's definitely going to be one of those that it's going to last all the way to the end of the year in terms of top filming productions of 2024. It's definitely going to be on my top 10 list.
Oh man, This was a lot, man. I think Ronin topped it off the best. That this solidifies like this is one of the most memorable series. I mean, he called it, but this was amazing. I mean, from how it opened, like we were still like left with this fleeting amount of hope before we even got to the intro. Um, and I think that they do such a good job of writing and subverting our expectations. I know throughout the reactions, we were like, hey, what's gonna happen? It's gonna happen. I was like, nah, y'all already broke me the 7th episode. I'm not even gonna expect anything. I'm just gonna ride it. Like you already broke me. Between 7 and 8, I was like, any expectation I had, I'm just throwing it out the window. Because one of the things I thought was like, I don't even know if we're gonna actually have a war in this season. I think that they ended it on an amazing note that they don't have to do anymore after this. But I think it'll be even more intriguing if they actually did do another season, if it was done in a way that made sense to show him in power, to show what the progression of the era kind of shifts with him getting into power. I don't even have to see necessarily the war, but the way that they handle politics, the way they handle like dissension and lies, I think that there's so many different ways that they can capsulate that time frame to the next transition of that era. So I think that they could definitely approach it that way. But if they don't, I mean, it ended so smoothly that you are left with the interpretation of Blackthorn, you know, whether that actually is his future and what that meant in between that gap of time, or if it's just a piece of like what he thought could be. We don't know. And they leave it so open-ended, but there's so much they did with this episode that I was impressed by. Without showing too much flashy action or gore, they just went straight through the story, and they told a really excellent one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And again, one thing I do want to put out there is, as for the gore that we did see was it always had a meaning. You know, it wasn't useless. It wasn't just there because they wanted our jaws on the floor. They made it mean something. Even the moment with Toranaga and him, you know, with the beheading, it you know, it was just the whole sequence there was just. I think it was so well handled. I don't know if I'm on my own there, but there was some. I feel like the only thing that really, the only death that stands out to me, and I'm not even gonna call it useless because it had a meaning, but was the boiling scene when
Yeah.
he was boiling one. No, yeah, when he was boiling, I think one of John's men alive.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the
Mhm.
only thing in this entire series that I could think of that was like really felt like, oh my god, like this is kind of a little much, but at the same time, I understand why they did it. But that's the only really argument I could put out there. But other than that, I feel like every other death was just handled correctly.
yeah. Well, so the interesting
Yeah.
thing about that death, though, is I take it the same way. He's sitting there just beheading folks that he knew for a fact that
Mhm.
they didn't cause that, but he had to make a point, and
Mhm.
he's trying to trigger something. And I think that is the same exact reason why he boiled that man alive, is incite fear and incite certain things in John. And I think that with what they did to the village, I mean, it's the same exact concept. It's I
No,
think the
that's not
hardest
why he did that.
elaborate.
Yawishige, we learned in the first episode when he did that. He said, they always do that. That's not what he's curious about death and is always trying to figure out
Oh yeah,
what
How
Toranaga
it
didn't do
feels to
that.
be close
Yeah,
to it.
Toranaga didn't
explain.
do that.
It was
Yeah, right.
Yawishige
Yeah, he
said
did.
that. So that's why he does crazy deaths like that. He said, I don't want to, and when he was finally ordered to give seppuku or whatever, do seppuku. I don't know how to say it, but to
Seppuku.
do that, to kill himself. Yeah. I know how to say it. I just don't know how to like say it in a sentence. But like he was like, I don't want to do that. Fucking throw me off a cliff. Feed me to the dogs. Feed me to, like he didn't want. He was like anything, anything else but this.
Yeah, he even has
And
to be torn by a cannon. Like that's brutal.
yeah, like
Right.
yeah, he's insane. The dude's and we've known that from like episode 1 that he's a sociopath, like textbook definition of a sociopath.
Yeah,
Lacks
he's not
empathy
all the
for
way there.
people. Yeah, he's kind of crazy. He's a little crazy. But I think your point about subverting expectations is exactly it. I had a lot of expectations for a show called Shogun. Like I thought it was gonna be battles. I thought there was gonna be like the fact that ninjas showed up. I was like, fuck yeah, like Ninja showed up, bro. Like Ninja showed up. So that was everything to me. Like that's why at that moment I texted my brother. I was like, "You have to watch Shogun." He's like, "I know." I was like, "You have to. There's ninjas." So that was fucking cool. I love that part. That was episode 8, right? When the ninja showed up.
Yes.
I didn't like what happened, but the ninja showing up was really fucking cool. But the expectations I've had of the show, the battles, the everything, I predicted so many things in these episodes that never happened because they were like, no, this is not the show you think this is. Right. And I think that's very smart. They didn't, most of the time I was satisfied. Obviously, there is documented evidence of me not being satisfied. But I overall think the show is very smart. It shows Toranaga, especially at the end. He's still playing games. He's still 3 steps ahead of people. He may have taken some losses. He may have been betrayed, but look who's still standing at the end. You know what I mean? He was willing to sacrifice. He's willing to sacrifice anyone and anything to get to the place where he's going to be. And that's cold. He's cold-hearted. And I only want a second. I don't want a second season, but I do just want to know more about Blackthorn, and his reaction to everything. But I am satisfied with this being the end. I want to talk a little. I want to really dive into the end scene, like the end, the predicted battle, and his conversation with Yabushige, because I think that's the most important part. My dog's barking, so y'all can go ahead.
So yeah, let's talk about that. Because I was gonna ask you guys a question. Because one of the things Yabushige asked, the last thing he asked him is that what you always wanted was Shogun. You wanted to be the Shogun. And that was one of your deepest, darkest secrets. Because the way that he calculated how all this was going to go about. And it started with like, oh, yeah, the real Crimson Sky was exactly what she did. Like, that was to throw everything out of order. And it was going to get him exactly what he wanted. And it's so cold, so calculated. And he knew Mariko was going to... I was going to ask you guys this. Does he want to be Shogun? Did he knowingly know that Makira was going to risk her life and die ultimately for it? And do you guys think that the way that he played it all out will actually come to fruition? Because that was the thing I was gonna wonder, because I don't know if we're gonna get a second season, but it made me believe that he knew that Mariko was gonna die, and she knew she was gonna die no matter what. And then the whole entire time he's wanted to be Shogun. What was y'all's kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure Mariko dying was part of the plan. I don't know when she thought she was gonna die, but I'm pretty sure that was part of the plan. Does he want to be Shogun? Yeah, he wants to be Shogun, but he's not gonna tell people. He doesn't care. Like, he sacrificed her. That was that's his queen. He sacrificed her. Like, he only cared about getting his son back. He's like, oh, I got plenty of sons. That man's cold. He's ice cold. He's like, oh, there's like, sorry about your dead son, but he said, I got sons. I got other sons. Thanks for bringing this son to me. Like, that's crazy.
He's cold, but doesn't lack sentiment. I think that's a way to say it, because even when he said, yeah, I got another kid or not, he still spoke highly of Mariko and be like, you're right. My poetry, that poetry isn't good out of my mouth. It's only hers, and she made the best out of those poetries. Even the uncle telling him all those secrets of, like, why would I tell a dead man what the future is? And how quick the uncle was to commit seppuku. It wasn't like he hesitated or was like struggling to it. He was ready. He gave him a look, smiled, and Toranaga smiled at him as either a secret acknowledgement that, yeah, I wanted to be Shogun, or be like, dude, either way, we're getting on top of this. Right. He was like, okay, I know. And then sliced the head. And I mean, he's still mourning his son. You could sense the tear or the loss for words when his best friend, his general, or his fellow lord, killed himself to prove a point, to sell a point, if you will.
Sell a point. That's it.
Yeah, so you could say, I can understand saying that he's cold-hearted, but that's maybe a Westerner's perspective, like of John Blackthorne's in that time period and that culture in that way. Does not, but it also does not take away that they don't care or don't forget the reason why they're there and the people who paid that way. I think if he knew that she was ready to die and was gonna die, that at least for the most part that she go peacefully and not go sadly and be like, all right, finally at the end, no, she got one last time with John, which is why, again, it's sad to think about it. But what as she was saying, her last testament before dying, she knew she kept looking at John.
Yeah.
Be like, at least we had, it's the equivalent to like, we'll always have Paris. I think.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Anybody else? What's your perspective on Toranaga? Because I'm conflicted, honestly, guys. Because it's like he's a genius and he's very calculated. And to your point, it is a cultural thing. Like these people are willing. The way our interpretation of life and death is just completely different for them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a coldness, and then there's the levels of empathy that I see in him.
Yeah.
But at the same as that time, I can't look at him the same way. It's something about like the way he positioned everybody like pawn pieces. It's a different level of that. It's not like he just sending them out to war to just die aimlessly. Like he calculatedly put them in certain ways. So it's just hard for me to accept. But go ahead, Bizzy. I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's all good. I think I would follow. I think I would follow up your question with a question. Did Thanos really love Gamora even though he threw her off the cliff? I think he did. I think this is the same thing. I think he has the empathy. I think he understands the magnitude of the pieces on the chessboard that he moved and the magnitude of what was sacrificed. But he was also determined. I think when you have that unrelenting or infallible truth, I think he was. Although for us it sounds cold for him to say that, well, I've got more sons. I think for him, knowing what their culture is, knowing the importance of what it means to have a male descendant for the goals he's trying to achieve, I think he just is embracing the fact that although he is probably upset, I don't know if I want to say devastated, but probably upset and feeling the loss of his son. It might just be the fact that he cannot show that to them. For him, if he were to bear that look of if he was to stand there in front of those women and hold his son, and they made that statement about his other son, and he just burst into tears, what is it for someone to sit there and say, oh, his children are the chink in his armor? All we have to do is kill his children and he will be taken down. Should anyone else? Because when you're someone doing the things he's doing to achieve what he wants, and I do believe he wants to be Shogun, there's always going to be someone else who's going to try to come behind him and try to find those chinks in the armor. He can't afford to truly I think when he is by himself, if there's a place for him by himself where no one can see him or hear him, he will experience that loss. He will shed those tears. He will have that emotional moment, but he can't afford to with what he's trying to do in that moment. I think that's why he said what he said. I at least I can always have more sons, right? I think for everything that he's done, he's definitely gunning for Shogun. And I think for the purpose of what he was trying to do, basically uniting everyone in peace, that's a bigger call than just someone looking to be in that position. He's trying to do something that's probably never been done before, but he also accepts the fact that there are going to be pieces on the board that have to be sacrificed for it to be done. So while he does look different to me, he still looks the same. It's just a resolution that you have to have within yourself to say, okay, in order to get to the next step, I'm going to have to do some things that I'm probably not comfortable with, but getting them done means I achieved the goal, which is greater than me. So I think he's going to be Shogun. What I would like to see, I don't think I would do a second season, but if I did, I would like to see another era past him where they reference things from his era of him being Shogun. Sorry, Vanessa.
No, you're fine. I think you guys are mistaking what I'm saying. When I call someone cold-hearted, sociopath, like these are things that are facts. Like a person can't be empathetic and warm and loving and also treat people like chess pieces. That's just not, those are cognitive dissonant. This is not how you treat people. And it's also not cultural either. You saw how Fuji reacted with her family getting wiped out. Like people, there's levels to their emotional things. I do agree that he isn't obviously going to show emotion in front of his concubines and his consorts and his vassals. That's very obvious. But he did have a moment where he was alone and grieving his son. We saw that. I don't know if you saw that episode. It was 6, I think, 5 or 6, what the funeral for his son. He did have moments where he's literally said, "Thank you, you bought me more time." That's how he grieved his son. So
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how I'm basing his he processes emotions and other people in a way that is cold. It is not a normal human connection with people because he was hacking people's heads off at 12, bro. Like he can't be normal. He's not normal. He is the only one equipped to be who he is, though. He's the only one equipped to be Shogun, who has been murdering and killing and winning battles since he was fucking 12.
That's fair.
You can't be a good person and be Shogun. There's no way. You can't. You're not uniting the land in peace. You are a warlord. Literally, the definition of a shogun is a military power that's consolidated under one man, and he's the real power, not the emperor. He's the real power. Like that's a man who's got to be in power. Is not a nice man. We know that. Like there are men now that are like that. Like that's not a criticism. That makes him a more fascinating character. And it definitely subverted my expectations because I was expecting something different. I that's my fault. I was expecting like, oh, he's gonna have grandfatherly good moments. That was dashed about episode 2 in. That man is cold. And I'm not saying that as a negative, you know what I mean? I'm saying that as that's crazy. Like that is really interesting to be able to play that kind of character and still have me invested in the character, right? Like I wasn't invested in Thanos. I didn't believe Thanos loved Gamora. Thanos didn't love shit. Thanos didn't love nobody. You can't love someone and then kill them. I don't believe that. So that's how and you can disagree with that, but as someone who's you can't. That's all I'm going to say.
That's valid.
I'm gonna put my
No,
personal
it's
shit
valid.
in there. But you can't. And so that people can trick themselves, they can be obsessed, they can be passionate, they can be lustful, they can be and kill somebody. But to be truly in love with someone and truly love someone, you don't treat them like objects or chess pieces. And Toranaga does. I don't know if he may have love for people, but I don't think he truly loves anyone. I don't even know if he loves himself. He just wants power. He loves power.
Can I
that was
ask
something
this?
that.
Does Hideaki Sanada's incredible performance, would it line up with Walter White, Tony Soprano? I think it's on that level.
Walter White especially. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, when he was having the conversation with his son, when he reprimanded his son, it was something the way he said it. There was a disconnection that I could see in his eyes and his mannerism. Like he was trying to tell his son, like, look, you need to get wise or you're basically gonna die on so many different levels. He was telling him like you have to play the game a certain kind of way or you're gonna die. And it wasn't like I don't want you to die, or it wasn't like, well, I want to try to. I think that when he lost his son, I think he felt something. But to Vanessa's point, it was the way that he was saying it so cold and callously, like I don't trust anybody, and if you keep going down this road, you're gonna die. And I don't know. He has no. I don't know. He's left himself not being chained down by any kind of thing that would kind of hold him back from anybody. It's really weird. Like there's certain characters that certain people play very well that initially I'm like, oh man, this is such a great performance. But there's an immediate disconnect that I have. There's an anime that we've seen recently. I can't talk about it here. I fell in love with the character 10 years ago, and I'm still shaken by the decisions that they made. And I still can't characterize them as they did exactly what they wanted to do. It was an intentional thing. It might have been for their own reasons. It might have been for their justification of the greater good, but their actions, is a whole different thing. So I don't want to spoil that anime, and I don't want to talk about other references, but yeah.
Can I piggyback? I think what you said was brilliant because mistake me, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but somebody, either the original, the old lord or emperor or general, who was the father of the heir, or maybe Toranaga, somebody said that one who has power or seeks power is the loneliest person. Somebody said that, and I'm like, it fits Toranaga, where Toranaga ends up at. No matter how many people are following him, no matter who, he's all alone.
I remember that line. I just can't remember who said it.
Yeah, but I'm like, the minute as you were describing that, I was like, holy shit. We somebody said that out loud. They're like, yo, whoever ends up on top of this is gonna be alone as hell.
Someone mentioned the theme of the episode was loneliness. Like, we saw a lot of shots where people were alone. Like, it plays into that.
The village,
have true power.
The house where John is just sitting there. It's a beautiful place. It's and I think also Bizzy said it, like how much the lighting, the coloring, it's just like the life is just drained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, even when you think about Mariko's husband, honestly, like by the end of it, like the man, he lost everything. He lost completely everything. I mean, technically, he would have been better off if he had have actually died. I never thought I would say that about a character, but still, at the end of it, he met John right where he was, and he respect John at this point and just decided to continue to move forward. But if you think about everything that he's kind of been through, what he's done, I don't know. It's so interesting how they dissect so many different people in different ways of their actions. I think that's one of the amazing things about how they handle the threading of this show as far as the storytelling. But Ant, did you have?
I was listening to Vanessa, and a thought came to my mind. I don't remember if this is real life or not, or like a kind of a story, and I also know that the powers that be are not exactly the same in this situation, but I call to mind, might have been a poem or something where there was a runaway slave about to get caught up by slave catchers, and I think she ended up killing her children because she said she would not want them to go back into slavery or be taken back into slavery. Ooh. So it's something that was done out of love, but it could be easily seen as, what are you doing? Like absolute
mercy.
Savage. Or mercy.
Context, sure. Mercy, I think, mercy killings are different, but that's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that like my son is learning chess right now, and we literally saw it play out with human beings and life in this dude's push for the greater cause. And like you said, he's been winning battles since he was 12. He's been a tactician, both politically and on the battlefield since he was 12. I can't help but think that, even though I didn't see the episode of that conversation, that when he was talking to his son was older than 12. I'm sure. So he's like, catch up. I've had to do this since I was younger than you. Learn the lesson, because I can't save you, basically. I can't protect you.
There's a when you were starting to describe like somebody like a mercy killing, like before the inevitable. There's a movie that kind of came to my mind, and this.
Yes, fuck this movie. I was thinking the same thing.
I love that movie. I love this movie. Yeah.
I've never had a movie.
The movie's great. The end of it.
I've never had a movie's ending hurt me so bad.
So bad.
Yeah. And it's just.
I can never watch it again.
It's rough. It's rough. Hopefully, you've seen this movie, so you know the reference. But That's what came to my mind when you were describing that.
Woo.
That's exactly what happened in that, and it's unthinkable.
The myth.
It's literally unthinkable.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, it's when you're spare. Yeah, it is. It's a very. It's a situation most of us won't even have to deal with. So it's like such a weird thing to talk about. Like in what
Unthinkable.
situation would you mercy kill someone and still love? Like that's such a weird concept to talk about. But
Yeah.
I don't. No one was mercy killing in this episode anyway. So or in the season anyway. Everyone was just killing because they wanted more consolidate more power. So moot point. But yes, fair point on that. Do we have anything else we haven't covered on this episode specifically?
Just the raw
No?
emotional damage. We're still in
I
shock.
know.
Everybody's still in shock. I
Ronin-
mean, well, I am anyway.
We need
I
to
mean,
book Ronin therapy and a massage or something.
I need a vacation. That's what I need. I need to get either wasted or go to Vegas and whatnot. Just be like, all right.
Yeah, right.
So y'all, this might be a very, very small thing, but what did it mean that Maruko's husband came through to help with the boat?
It means he doesn't like his son. Apparently, where's his son? Where is his son? Why doesn't anyone care about his son? No, but I thought it was. That's great. I thought that was a really interesting moment because they hate each other and they obviously
Maybe
know
some
that they
growth.
love the same woman. Yeah, that's growth. I shout out to Buntaro for just being like, but I don't have a purpose anymore. I'm just here, and I'm, yeah.
You know, it would be crazy.
ahead.
I mean, I know we're not getting a season 2, but it's like I'm pretty sure their son is on the line of Ishiro's side. So if they ever showed that war scene and they showed him go up against the son or something on the lines of that, because I think it's
You just want
clear.
drama,
Bro.
You
It's
just
the
want
whole
drama.
point of it, man. I just want drama. But
Drama.
bro, like I don't know. Again, I just think this is a perfect ending. I don't think there's a need for a season 2.
Yeah.
If they do, I will be seated. But at the same time, it is what it is. For sure.
Yeah, I think we just need some time, man, to process all that.
Yeah.
To be honest, like I could go and try to dig, but I think with
I don't wanna
time,
dig right
I'll
now.
be able to unpack a little bit better. Yeah, I mean, the
Uh.
last episode was a lot in and of itself. Like that was a whole lot. Gag on ninjas, explosions,
The death of our
Love.
favorite character, literally.
Like that was a painful freaking death, and we
cried
weren't
a
even
lot.
sure. Like some of us were holding out hope in the beginning of this episode. I knew I had already accepted from the last episode, but a lot of us were holding out hope. She maybe just opened her eyes, and she did not. She did not.
Thank you,
But,
Sam, for reminding me that.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. Thank you. I forgot.
But go ahead, Vanessa.
No, if there's one little thing, the flash forward. Do we think that was an actual flash forward? Because it
Right.
really crossed into the lake. So what do we think about that?
I
don't know.
personally think it's actually real. I think that I don't know if they intentionally did that so that we can kind of see where Blackthorn eventually ends up, so we kind of know that he always remembers this moment in time. Because it was interesting that maybe his possible grandchildren kind of bring it up, because we do know that he had a daughter and she could easily have children, and revisits her dad and just kind of wants to see what's going on, his final moments. I mean, it's the way that he kind of clenched onto the crucifix, and it was almost like he was going back and remembering the moment where he just thought he didn't know, because remember, he had like a gap of time that he was out. Like he wasn't even conscious for her funeral. So I personally feel like it is in the future. It could be left up to interpretation that he was going back and forth of what could have been, but because they went back and forth a couple different times, it doesn't make sense. It seems like more so you harkening back to something that you remember than anything else. Now, how he would go back and actually find the crucifix again, not sure. So there are red herrings there. How did he get back to the Americas? Based on what the Lord basically says, like, look, I'm gonna keep on destroying this ship just to make sure he stays in Japan. But I don't think he's gonna stay in Japan realistically either way, because at the end of the day, even though he becomes a shogun, things change. And I'm that's why I said I'm interested to see where that wave goes. Like it's so much that they could show from a legacy standpoint after that point to see kind of what happens after he comes into power. What does he bring around Japan from that point? But that's just my interpretation. That's what I think.
I personally thought it
Any
was
other
very
thoughts?
interesting that of the few words that his grandchildren said, one of them was savage.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like how you go from somebody who was there for that long and understood their policy, their traditions and culture and everything, to 2 generations later, just we're back to pretty much where he was from jump.
Day one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I caught that
but
too.
yeah, I don't know. It seemed more like flash forwards to me. Like this is maybe where he wanted to be. I don't know. It seemed odd, very odd.
Very weird. Speak.
I don't know what to say.
He doesn't want to incite hope because if he starts talking like the possibilities, he starts ranting. It's like, man,
I'm not gonna be able to stop.
if I don't get a season 2, then I'm predicting too much.
Not exactly. Yeah, I don't know. They did not miss. This was a great series. Again, if it's standalone, I'm just saying
He's
the same
avoiding
shit.
the question.
I'm saying the same shit I'm
You're
gonna
funny.
say. Don't
You're
know what else to
funny.
say. It's it was a fun watch.
Oh my gosh! Can't believe you just did that, Ty.
Mm.
I don't know. We'll just
Well,
we'll
right.
just see how. I mean, luck is never in my favor. I'm still waiting for a second season of Watchmen that I know is not going to happen. So I don't see it happening here. But like I already said, if they do another one, I would like to see kind of years down the line what
Yeah.
did he become Shogun and what were the effects of him becoming Shogun and what the legacy was, where they just kind of go back and reference those things versus them. Because it's always like, there's certain things you just shouldn't touch like immediately after, because then it kind of like dilutes the impact of the first set. So I would like it to be like a whole new story, but they reference the things that occurred since the end of the first one. But my luck is never that good, so I don't see it happening.
Hey, Avatar got 2 seasons. I'm just talking. Ronin, I know
Got
you're
3.
emotionally compromised. You don't got to say anything.
I'm good. If we get more, cool. Don't fuck it up. But I'm good.
All right.
We
Well,
have it.
all right. Well, let's do final thoughts and grade the episode, fam.
My final thoughts on this was phenomenal. This is there are moments between the 8th episode and the 7th episode that emotionally hurt me, and I think it hurt a lot of us collectively. But if you chose to continue it, I think you see the beauty and the amazing nature of how this show progresses. And I think this is an A+ series as a whole. I think the last episode was amazing. It's just so much, man. I could rant about it, but if you haven't seen it and you're watching our review on the 10th episode at this point, like go back and watch the whole entire thing. It's worth every single moment. Even the moments that'll hurt you, I think it's still worth going through the process of it.
So again, great series.
Good watch. This man
I don't know what
gonna.
you want from me.
I want some tears. That's what I want.
Oh man.
Give us a grade.
I think I want to give a round of applause to Vanessa for not quitting after episode 8.
Hey.
But
Listen.
no, yeah, I mean, there's been some times it's been difficult at times, but at the end of the day, I think this episode was a giant A. And as for the series, I'm gonna give it like an A+. Fire. It was fire.
Yeah. I'll grade the episode, not the series, as I haven't seen it all. But man, just coming from the penultimate episode to here, Denimon was on point, absolutely on point. Like you felt both a sense of, okay, I see how these arcs end, and also see the potential of a continuing overarch storyline. So, man, well done. Great cinematography. Like again, like it's one of those shows where you could almost turn the sound off and still have a story told to you pretty adequately, and that says a lot. So yeah, definitely an A for this episode.
Thanks, Ant. Ty?
I'm not sure, being in the position I'm in, I'm not sure how much my rating holds value, but I would give it an astounding A, just for, and just the whole series, just for the originality. It's now unfortunately become rare that you see content or you see media that actually comes from, even if it's referenced from a book, it's just original. It's well casting. The story, especially transitioning a story to a film production to tell the same story, it's rare you get those good transitions. This one did it really well. I'm a sucker for a great story, great cinematography, just the amount of care that was put into giving you this impact to the point where you even if you don't get anything else after this, you're still more than satisfied. So the episode's definitely a 10, and or an A, like I said. And I think the series is just of the same caliber grade.
Ronin.
I'm gonna go solid A with a slash. I could have my favoritism of where the episodes were where I enjoyed the most, but it doesn't take the fact that it was a heck of a journey. And the way I'm going to end it is just saying that Anna Sawai, who played Lady Mariko, Cosmo Jarvis, who played John Blackthorne, Moika Hoshi, who plays Usami Fuji. If I butcher your name, I apologize. And of course, the great Hiroki Sanada, who played Lord Yoshii Toranaga. Give him a round of applause. I have not seen the set of Hideyoki, and I think Anna Sawai, Cosmo, and Waki are going to be stars, and they should be getting a lot of roles in the coming future. So, round of applause for them.
Last but not least.
This episode, I think I'll give it an A plus. I give the series an A plus. In Comic Sans. Yeah. It's been a long time since the show is like really giving me a buzz. I talked about it a lot. I was a Game of Thrones like a stan. I was a stan for real, and even through the disappointments, the show reminds me of like it got me invested in characters, and then it made me cry, and that's all you need. That's all I need, really. I appreciate Hiroyuki Sanada's commitment to making the show as authentically Japanese as possible. I appreciate Cosmo Jarvis's like commitment to not to blending into the culture, and the arc that Blackthorne had, the strongest arc for sure in the entire series. I'm still fucked up about Mariko's death because I really wanted her to be at the end, like have a happy ending, but at least Fuji got to be, go off and be a nun. I think that's as good of a happy ending as we're going to get for any of the characters because everybody else is going off to war. So I don't know. I really appreciate. I learned a lot more about culture and about this culture specifically, and this time frame. It's just really. It's not just fascinating. It's not just beautiful. It's not just well crafted. It's not just well written. And yes, I will say that even though I did say that one death was badly written, it is a very well written show. It is also educational. So yeah, I A plus. Yeah.
Oh man. Well,
Are we done?
Yeah.
That's the great. All right.
Yeah.
Is it time to plug? Ronin.
Yo, what's up? Find me at Ronin and Chain, weeping about this show as these episodes drop. But you know, again, the best way is just check out the channel and see what's coming down the road.
Dun dun dun.
That's why.
You guys can find me at Bizzy Braun everywhere, and then Bizzy Reactions on Instagram. Yeah, fun stuff.
This is so emotionally compromised. He can't even say that anymore.
We're all tired and drained.
It's okay, Bizzy.
It's 1 a.m, man.
Oh,
I don't have the
shit, I
mental
forgot.
capacity for this.
And where can everybody find your music and content, man?
Pretty much all streaming profiles, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, under Anthony and Joku. 2 singles are out and more are coming.
Appreciate you. LT, where can everybody find your content, man?
Ty Nitty on Instagram and Degeneration X, formerly Twitter. You know. Yeah. That's all I got after this show, man.
Last but not least.
Yeah, you can find me at Vanessa Shark. Morning.
Fair.
Cool.
All right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching along with us throughout this entire show. We have a lot more other series that we're going to be collectively collaborating with and covering. And if you go to Bizzy Braun's channel, you'll get to literally see our reactions to every single gut-wrenching moment of it. So go and check out our live reaction there and on his TikTok. Go and check out Ronin's TikTok that's coming very soon. And we got a lot more coverage that are coming out. And might be talking about doing a little bit too. So talk to y'all later. Peace, people. Great job, Vanessa. Woo!
Filing out the top of I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline. Ain't nothing on my mind.